Hello, I'm Pam Blankenship, the Community Outreach Coordinator with the River to Sea TPO. Welcome to the first edition of Monday on the Move. Have you ever thought about permanently ditching your car and simply using alternative modes of transportation like biking or transit? Well, I'd like to introduce you to Dr. Jason Aufdenberg, Associate Professor of Physics and Hello, I'm Pam Blankenship, the Community Outreach Coordinator with the River to Sea TPO. Welcome to the first edition of Monday on the Move. Have you ever thought about permanently ditching your car and simply using alternative modes of transportation, like bicycling or transit? Well, I'd like to introduce you to Dr. Jason Aufdenberg, Associate Professor of Physics and Astronomy. Why am I having trouble with that word?
I don't know. Physics and astronomy.
Astronomy. Hello, I'm Pam Blankenship, the Community Outreach Coordinator with the River to Sea TPO. Welcome to the first edition of Monday on the Move. Have you ever thought about permanently ditching your car and simply using alternative modes of transportation, like biking or transit? Well, I'd like to introduce you to Dr. Jason Aufdenberg, Associate Professor of Physics and Astronomy at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, who has done just that. Thank you, Jason, for speaking to us today about what it's like to live without a car.
Great.
How did you come to be car-free?
Well, I never had a driver's license. I grew up in a very transit-friendly area of Washington, D.C., where I was able to get around on the bus and on transit very easily. And then I went to college in a small town. I didn't need a car, and so it just I learned how to live without a car early on. And then I moved to Florida, and it's a little more challenging here. So the cargo bike, which I have, facilitates needs for groceries and errands, just not getting to work. So I have a solution for that as well.
So what is your solution for groceries?
Cargo bikes can carry about 4 bags of groceries at a time, and I can actually shop for about 2 weeks, loading my whole bike up with groceries, which is pretty cool. I discovered this in 2007, like a lot of people did, by typing grocery shopping by bike on the internet, and I discovered a company, Extra Cycle, that allows you to build your own cargo bike or turn a regular bike into a cargo bike. And there's been a cargo bike boom, and now you can buy whole-made cargo bikes that are specifically made for that. But mine was built out of another bike.
Was it an expensive option?
It wasn't too expensive. It was about $500 to add the back end to make my bike longer, so I could fit in the cargo capacity that I wanted.
So a whole lot cheaper than a car, and car insurance, and gas, and all the things that go with it.
Runs on peanut butter sandwiches, we like to say.
So what's the farthest you've ever ridden in one trip?
Oh my goodness. Not for commuting, but as a recreation, in 2018, biked across the short axis of Florida from Daytona Beach over to Cedar Key, and I think we did 60 miles in one day that day. Typically my longest bike ride, for example, if I go down to Port Orange to go shopping from Daytona Beach, that can be 16, 17 miles for commuting. Sometimes I'll get up to 25 miles in one trip if I'm making various stops. That's about it, under 25 normally.
Okay, wow, that's pretty crazy. In traveling all these miles, what's the scariest thing that's ever happened to you on your bike?
Oh my goodness. When you're on the really fast arterial roads, sometimes you'll have a close pass because the speed is so high on those roads, and there's usually a narrow shoulder or bike lane. Actually, some of the scariest situations are in crosswalks where motorists aren't necessarily paying attention and making a right turn across the crosswalk or a left turn across the crosswalk. And so recently I was crossing International Speedway between Daytona State College and Mainland High School, and a car just went cream through the red light at the crosswalk at, 40 or 50 miles an hour, and I was just inches away from that. So that was definitely the scariest thing
Oh my goodness.
that I've seen recently. That's the one that sticks in my mind.
Wow, that is crazy. Unbelievable. on the topic of being scary, what is something or some things that would help make it safer for you to ride?
I think having more complete bike lanes. We have some really nice facilities here in Daytona Beach and in the TPO area, but it isn't all necessarily connected. So people who use cars have a network. Like roads just don't suddenly end in a lot of places, but bike lanes tend to end suddenly. For example, coming over the bridges. So thinking about the bike infrastructure as a complete network that is connected, that would really help. That's the first stage. And then on the fast roads, the arterial roads, having an off-the-road option, a shared use path. For example, along ISB for a while, there's a quite long path that was installed in the last 5 years or so. And so having more of a systematic treatment like that along the big arterial roads, because people just don't want to ride along 45, 50-mile-an-hour traffic in a narrow bike lane. Most people don't. And so thinking about connectivity and thinking about more protected bicycle infrastructure, I think would help.
Great ideas, great ideas, and very important, I think, to connect the bike lanes for cyclists. Absolutely. Now, I know our viewers would love to know what you do when it rains.
Yes. So, two things. When I'm commuting to work, I always have a complete change of clothes in my office. Now, most of the time in Florida, it rains in the afternoon. Not always, but a lot of time the storms develop in the afternoon. So if I'm on my way to work, I definitely need a solution to have dry clothes when I get there. And that means either having clothes in my office, or I also have here what I call a kayak bag, or a bag that I can put lots of clothes in, and it stays dry no matter what. When I'm biking home from work, I have lots of dry clothes at home, so I'm not so worried about getting wet on the way home. Florida is so hot that sometimes putting on tons of rain gear, you'll get just as wet sweating under your rain gear as you would if you just wet. So, I mean, thunderstorms, that's another situation, right? Maybe you shouldn't be outside at all. But yeah, so that can delay you a little bit. But, for example, it's 5 o'clock, I kind of want to go home, but if there's a thunderstorm, I'll just do some more work. So it may delay you a little bit, and when you travel, if it's really nasty outside, of course. But I think if you have a way to protect your laptop and your clothes and everything, and a cargo bike makes that possible because you can have a big bundle of plastic protected stuff and still carry it with you, which is hard to do on a smaller bike. But that's my solution. For example, when I come to the TPO for our meetings and it's really rainy, sometimes I'll bring extra clothes and
get changed there.
Yeah, get changed so I'm not soaking wet for our meetings.
We thank you for that. So what do you do when you have like a doctor's appointment and you're in Daytona, say it's in DeLand and it's raining?
Oh, okay.
And it's really far.
Right. So I have traveled to DeLand regularly. So this is not the only bike I own. I own a folding bicycle that I can carry onto the bus. So that makes it easy. The Route 60 bus goes by my house every 30 minutes, so that's pretty frequent. And so basically at 30-minute intervals, I can get on a bus that in 30 minutes I can get to DeLand. And if I have a bicycle there, I can get from the bus stop somewhere else. Typically, for example, my dentist is in Port Orange, and that's about a 35-minute to 40-minute ride. And I just plan ahead. Again, taking a change of clothes if it's really nasty. I've been pretty I would say in a given year I might get caught in a downpour maybe 3 times. If you plan ahead and things aren't so critical, but sometimes you just have an appointment at a certain time and you can't avoid it.
Right.
But the amount of times that I'm just soaking wet mess is pretty limited. I mean, considering
that's great.
The weather. Yeah, so
that is lucky.
Part of it is planning ahead and being flexible, but sometimes you can't avoid it.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if I would be that lucky. So what would you say is the biggest drawback to being car free?
I think it would be nice to have easier access to Orlando and the larger metropolitan area. And that just is really challenging. For example, to catch Sunrail, you might have to catch the 5:30 a.m. bus to catch the bus in DeLand that goes to the DeBerry Sunrail station, and that's because Sunrail's not running all day long, right? It runs in the morning and afternoon, and not all trips are commuter trips. People are traveling for all sorts of other reasons, and so I'm looking forward to Sunrail coming to DeLand. I'm looking forward to all-day service, and this will open up the possibilities for people that don't drive, that take transit in, basically.
Yeah. On the flip side, what's the biggest benefit?
I would say, for me personally, I find purposely going to the gym and exercising kind of boring, and so the fact that I get exercise just by going where I'm going, I think that's pretty cool. Financially, it's estimated that $8,000 to $10,000 a year to own a car,
Wow.
something like that. And of the 14 years I've lived here, I could have saved $100,000 perhaps, and I can spend that on travel. I once ran into a gentleman at Nova in Dunlawton. We were both on bicycles, and somehow it came up that, he didn't have a car and he used all the money he saved to travel. And I thought, hey, that's pretty cool.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
That is. And then you get to travel and take your bike and enjoy the outdoors.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for spending your time here with us at Embry-Riddle, as you can hear by the plane. Thanks for joining us for Monday on the Move. I'm Pam Blankenship, and this is Dr. Aufdenberg. Thank you.